love Minecraft, and I love sweet treats. So today, I'm making every single sweet treat in Minecraft, but in real life. In Minecraft, there are 3 desserts that in all honesty, you probably never touch unless in desperation or for decoration. Hungry but no other food around? Then you might find yourself reaching for some cake, cookies, or pumpkin pie. In this video, I'm going to be making each one and ranking them on 3 things: their taste, their likeness to the game, and their ease to make. We're going to be starting with cookies. While delicious in real life, in Minecraft they are pretty much useless. Made with 2 pieces of wheat and 1 cocoa bean, you get 8 cookies per batch. They can also be purchased from farmer villages for emeralds. However, each of these cookies only gives you 2 hunger and 0.4 hunger saturation, which means you're going to be getting hungry pretty quickly. They also kill parrots, but I'll leave you to decide if that's a good thing. In real life, they're incredibly delicious and probably one of my favorite desserts ever. I'm actually going to be making shortbread. Everything in Minecraft is textured with small squares, and I can't really get that kind of texturing on a traditional cookie. My plan is to sort of just cut up rectangles and squares of shortbread and mush them together into one big cookie. We're going to see if that works. I don't know what it is with recipes these days, but why do I literally have to scroll past 4 articles worth of text explaining their lives? This shortbread recipe, why is there a picture of her at the Scottish Baking Awards? As I said, I'm going to be making 3 different batches of shortbread, and I know the easier thing would be to make 1 base batch and then add the different flavorings, but because I'm using different types of sugar, and because the cocoa powder may change how much flour I need to put in, I'm literally just going to have to make 3 different small batches. But that's fine. It'll work out. For the first recipe, I just need caster sugar, butter, and flour. That's it. I don't need anything else. So to begin with, I need just over 100 grams of butter. It's just going to be mixed together with the sugar. Shortbread is something that I've made quite a lot of. So I actually only need a 1/4 cup of sugar. This is normally a cooking spoon, but it'll do the job today. I do have a mixer. I actually just prefer not to use it because I'm very stubborn. And my nana never used a mixer, who died earlier this year, so you do have to like and subscribe, otherwise it's just really nasty, isn't it? That's a joke, by the way. And then I'm adding 1 cup of flour. You very quickly start to form your dough. It starts to sort of need kneading. Let me know in the comments if you ever actually eat cookies when you play Minecraft. Alright, so I'm gonna get my cling film, and I'm gonna go put this in the fridge. We're now gonna move on to our chocolate shortbread. Again, just gonna use 50 grams. We don't need anywhere near as much of the dough for this one. Do that. That'll do us. Gonna chuck that in. Cocoa powder. Almost immediately goes kind of a bit brownie-like. Just gonna knock some of that extra flour off. There we go. Ta-da! We're doing our last lot. I'm actually just going to use this leftover butter. There's probably about 40 grams here, maybe 30. But I'm going to be using some soft brown sugar instead to hopefully give it a bit of a darker look. There we have it. Our final little ball of shortbread. Our shortbread has been resting for a little while in the fridge, and I have put the oven on. We're going to go and try and recreate this. Now, you may be asking yourself, why? Why do I have a rolling pin made for elves? And the answer to that is because it's the only one the shop had. Yeah, I need a much bigger rolling pin than this one made for elves. Okay, so the cookie actually isn't round. I'm gonna just do a rough cookie shape. We have our Minecraft cookie. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I think on our likeness to the game, we've got an 8. But I think overall, that's pretty neat. That's pretty good. I'm gonna go give it a taste test. Still warm. It's very nice when you get the chocolate chips. Yeah, it was really good. I'd say a 7. I'd say I much prefer a more traditional cookie. But overall, it's a sweet biscuit. If I liked tea, this would be amazing for dunking in a tea. Finally, ease to make. I might have already mentioned, but shortbread's relatively easy to make. So realistically, I'm going to give this a 10. In the game, they're super easy to make as long as you have a jungle around. In real life, they're super easy to make. And that is our cookie. It's a new day, a new bake, and my hair is as orange as the pumpkin pie we are going to be making. In Minecraft, you make it with a pumpkin, an egg, and a piece of sugar, or you can trade emeralds with a farmer villager for 1 pumpkin pie. It's actually the, I guess, healthiest or most filling of all the desserts. This is because unlike the cake, you can actually eat a pumpkin pie whole, which will give you 8 hunger points and 4.8 saturation. So what we need to do is we're gonna need to make a short crust pastry and then make our pumpkin pie filling. Apparently with this one, you don't pre-bake your pastry filling, which is very unusual, but we are going to trust the process. We're gonna go start with our short crust pastry, flour, and then 85 grams of butter cubed. You basically do this until it sort of looks a bit like a bunch of breadcrumbs. You then add a little bit of cold water. And you see how that's coming together. Just gonna wrap that up, put it in the fridge. Okay, so oven is on and we're gonna start making our pumpkin pie mixture. We begin literally by just pouring in our pumpkin pie. We begin by pouring. Come on, there. Ooh. Be honest. What's more orange? So this recipe actually just calls for ground ginger and ground clove, but I actually also want to add in some nutmeg and some cinnamon because I really love like autumnal flavors. I've also bought some what is called allspice. This does have the ground cloves in, but it also has some of the other stuff like the ginger. About half a teaspoon. Why is it so sloppy? The final step is just to add evaporated milk. Oh. Oh, it smells really good, to be fair. I need to go roll the pastry out, so I'm gonna go do that on my oven top. I don't want to talk about it. This is not going to work. I have realized that that dough was not enough dough.
Flashback.
That's not going to fill anything. So I had to make an entirely new batch. I then stormed around my kitchen wondering where on earth I had put the flour. But before we started filming, I very helpfully put it inside of this chest to weigh it down because yesterday it was wobbling everywhere. I had forgotten this. I've done my best to try and seal it, but we're just gonna go for it. Well, hey! It's the right amount. I'm gonna go put this in the oven now. I used to be good at baking. I can't believe this has worked. It's cracked around the edges where I had to lift it out the pan, but there's barely any leakage of the actual pumpkin. It's a little bit burnt here, and I don't think the outside has as golden of a crust as I normally would like, but that's because with pumpkin pie you cook it on low for quite a long time. I'm actually shocked. No way. Look at that! Look at this. That's pumpkin pie and it's held its shape. We're gonna go taste it now. I'm not a fan of that texture. Now like I said, I've not made one of these since I was like 12. I have no idea if this is what it's meant to be like. Again, I think this is meant to be more golden. It tastes good. Okay, scores on the doors. Lightness of the game, I'd give it an 8 again. I think that's what we gave the cookies, but honestly, I would say aside the coloring, this is very similar. Ingredients-wise, obviously they're never going to be exactly the same, but it's pretty representative of what is actually in the pie. Taste, I would say it's a 6. I think it's kind of messed up a little bit by the fact it's got quite an odd texture. Finally, ease to make. I'm giving this a 4. While the actual pumpkin mixture was very easy to make, and shortbread pastry on its own isn't particularly, or short crust pastry isn't particularly hard to make on its own, rolling that stuff, especially when you have a teeny tiny rolling pin, is really hard. It's not the worst score in the world, and I'm still really happy with how this came out, and I'm so excited about the fact that I've made a square pumpkin pie. Like, I'm over the moon. We're finally onto the cake, probably the most recognizable of Minecraft desserts, but in-game it's actually quite unique. In order to be consumed, it has to be placed. Once placed, the player can enjoy its sugary benefits by taking a slice and eating it. Though its benefits are few and far between, as it actually only offers 2 hunger restoration and 0.4 saturation, so you'll get hungry pretty quickly. However, if you are lonely and nobody bought you a birthday cake for real life, you can place a candle and light it in the game. No, you can't blow it out and wish for more friends. Happy birthday! Now we're going to be making a basic sponge cake, and what I'm going to do is cut that sponge cake in half, add a layer of buttercream. I want this to ideally actually be the most accurate of all. I think the cake is the most easily replicable in real life. So in order to do that, I do have some fondant icing to try and get that nice white layer of frosting on the top. But to make sure that the cake's not too dry, I'm going to be adding a layer of buttercream in the middle and a layer of buttercream under that icing. We're going to dive straight on in, and first of all, we need to whisk our eggs, butter, and sugar together. Sugar. We want pretty much this entire block of butter. I'm really only chopping this up for the sake of making the whisking process easier. See, here's the thing. Yes, an electric mixer could have done that in 30 seconds, but now I feel an immense sense of pride. I guess this is how we'll add the eggs. That looks like bad scrambled egg. We're now just gonna sift in the flour. Also gonna add in a smidge of vanilla bean paste. We're gonna go pour that in. Okay, and we are ready to go throw this in the oven. While it's cooking, I will clean up a bit. Hello. Okay, so our cake is done. It has finished baking. It's got a nice golden brown color to it. I've tipped it upside down so it's square on top. What we are going to do is we're going to make some buttercream for the top. But basically, I want to make a buttercream that's slightly brown. Originally, I was just going to do a vanilla buttercream, but I think actually doing one with a little bit of cocoa powder in might work nicely. So we're going to go do that. Okay, so the buttercream is in the fridge. What we're now going to do is we are going to go and roll out that white icing. Okay, so I'm going to go and put a thin layer of buttercream on this. I don't know how to do this next bit. Sort of. Just gonna do this. Maybe if I'd ever used this kind of icing before, I'd know to cut the shape that we want around the sides first, but I've not ever used this. I've never used fondant icing before. I imagine it's probably not how you meant to do it, but it's how I'm doing it. Okay, that's looking not terrible. At least this next part I can sort of just cut the red bits out separately and then place them on. And then we'll be done. Okay, after quite a while, our cake is done. I'm actually really, really happy. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's turned out great. But we're gonna go have a slice and see if it also tastes good. That's sponge cake. It's good. It tastes like I'm at a children's party. It's such a soft and light cake. It's very nice. I think there are definitely some lessons to be learned. I think I would have done 2 layers, or potentially just would have made more mixture so that it had risen even more to be a lot thicker like the Minecraft cake. But otherwise, I think it actually came out pretty good. Okay, scores on the doors. Easy to make. Easy. So on that level, I'd give it a 9. Lightness to the game, I'd say this was pretty spot on. I'm very, very happy with how it's turned out. Like I said, would have loved a little bit more height on it, but I don't think it's the end of the world. So I'm going to give this a 9. And finally, taste. I mean, I just said I really liked it. I actually don't like fondant icing. I'm gonna knock a couple points off for that. But the cake itself is very nice, and so I'd probably give it a solid 7. So, those are all of our desserts, and these are the scores on the doors. I think it's safe to say that my personal favorite was either the cookie or the cake. I think the cookie tops it slightly, simply because it was just really, really fun trying to make the different shades, and cutting it into one big shape was so much easier. But I do have a soft spot for cake. And I think this cake in summer with some fresh strawberries and maybe a little bit of cream would be amazing. The pumpkin pie was definitely at the bottom of my preference list. It's just a texture thing. It's just a bit strange. I think I'd rather have a pumpkin flavored cheesecake. I think that could be really good. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was so fun to make, and I'm definitely going to be doing more of this series where I try and take food from in-game and make them in real life. So if you like that, subscribe. I also have some other similar videos like this one that take a little bit of a different twist and are less about cooking, but I promise they are really fun. Okay, thanks, bye. Get out of my kitchen. Get out. Get out of my kitchen.